There is no reason why you should not post that on every single platform. If you're not excited about it, don't do it. If you love it, 100% go all in. You got to go for a roller coaster ride. It'll pay off at the end. You learn a lot by building something small. If you try to build the next Facebook, you got to drown. We got the right audience, started making sales, and the sales came in, reinvested into building what now is Repurpose.
I'm here with Hani Moura, the CEO of Repurpose IO, and I wanted to pick his brain on a number of topics that are really relevant and timely for entrepreneurs today. Hani, how are you?
I'm doing awesome, man. How are you?
I am doing well, man. It is hot out here, but can't complain being here in Toronto. I want to make sure that this session is as value-packed for our viewers as possible. I've got a bunch of questions here, and just to start out with, man, can you tell me a bit about the CEO of Repurpose, what's the short version of what Repurpose does? And then I'd love to understand how you got started with this tool. I know it's been an incredible journey. It's been a longer journey.
Yes.
So yeah, I'd love to hear about that because a lot of people on the channel, they're in different stages in their entrepreneurship journey. Some are starting, some have been running it for a while. So I think your story would really kind of help people understand the journey and the struggles and the triumphs that entrepreneurs go through.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Repurpose in a nutshell is an automation scheduling tool for social media. It's going to save yourself a lot of time doing like those monotonous tasks of uploading. You post your content once and it pushes it out everywhere. And that's the goal, to save as entrepreneurs. You kind of put different hats on. You don't have time to be doing content and then pushing it here and then running the business and finance. So we focus on this space of social media because, hey, me as a content creator myself, way back in the day, I was a blogger and a video creator, and I hated repetitive tasks. It just took so much time. So we'll get into the story of Repurpose, but that's in a nutshell. It's an automation publishing tool for social media.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. And I've been using Repurpose for a while. And, I don't say it about every tool, but it really has been helping me with just getting more done. As you mentioned, there's a million hats you have to wear. Yeah. A lot of the people on my channel who watch me have very small teams or they're even solopreneurs. So any way you can make more, spend less, and work less, that's what I always say, then, that's always going to help. But yeah, man, tell me about the journey. How did you come up with this idea? Because I was at VidCon and I was hearing about this tool at VidCon. Everyone was talking about it. 2 years ago at another conference, I was hearing about it. And so I know you're starting to blow up. You're humble about it. But tell me about the whole journey, because it's not actually very recent. It's that you've actually been doing this for a while.
I know. A lot of people don't know that. I mean, Repurpose itself is about 7 years old, but I've been making automation software for over 10 years now. So it all started with me scratching my own itch. I'm a software engineer by study, and I'm also a video guy by passion. I've always loved video. Even as a kid, I would be the one that would go and record videos, family videos, and then edit them together, and just so we could all sit down as a family and watch it together. I always loved video. So one day I literally was sitting there, I was like, I'm a software guy, I love video. Wait a second, let me build a software for video. And I didn't know what it was. It was literally like, I got excited. I knew I had to do this, and I didn't know what it was at the time.
So just quick question there. Talk about video then. Are we talking just when YouTube? Are we talking,
before YouTube?
Was it real player days? No, I'm just kidding.
It was before YouTube got acquired by Google. It was before that.
Okay.
And it was like YouTube was the go-to, was the only platform.
Right.
Back then, we're talking the past more than 10 years ago.
There's no vertical.
No vertical. Vertical, honestly, if you did vertical, people would laugh at you.
Yeah,
They're like, what are you doing vertical? You got to hold the phone this way. So that's how old I am. No, that's how long I've been involved with video. And it's evolved so much. It's really exciting to see where we are now with video and content in general. But yeah, I mean, the first software I ever built was, before I built software, I was doing a lot of blogging and teaching about video marketing. And that's before I even had a cell phone. I had a little digital camera. I would film myself. If you look on my YouTube channel, on the Repurpose channel, actually, if you really dig deep, it used to be my personal channel. You'll see a video of me doing this with a really old camera. Hey,
okay,
doesn't matter. Putting content out there is...
So what Hani's promising us now is he's going to send me a link to the most embarrassing video on his channel.
My first
I'm going to
video.
link it in the description so we can all watch it.
Absolutely.
But only nice comments, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. So the point was, you got to put yourself out there. It doesn't matter about what technology, what inhibitions you have. I was so shy. I'm shy, but anyway, my point was, you got to get yourself out there, especially nowadays, video is a must. Anyway, my first tool I ever built was taking YouTube videos onto your blog. Because I was blogging a lot and teaching about video marketing, and I would do video every week. And then I hated the fact that I had to go in, copy the embed code, go to my WordPress site, make a new post, paste the embed code, copy the title, copy it. I hated that. I'm like, can I automate that? That was my first question. Can I automate that process?
Yeah.
After like digging in, I'm like, my automation geekness and my software geekness kicked in. And then that was my first tool I built. It was like, you publish a video to YouTube, within maybe an hour, it'll show up on your blog. It'd be a title, description, a blog post is automatically created.
Right. And
that was the beginning of my software automation journey. So it wasn't called Repurpose. It's a separate tool.
Right.
But that's how I got started. You know, what's interesting is when you first start, myself, I don't have an audience, right? So I'm like, how am I going to get this idea out in front of people, this new software I'm building? That's where I partnered up with somebody. So I found a partner that had an audience. I had a product, we partnered up, and we launched together. So it's a lesson here. If you're starting off and you don't have an audience, don't be afraid to partner up with somebody, because if they have the right audience and you have the right product, it's just going to accelerate things a lot faster. For me, starting from scratch is really hard. I've been blogging for years, but didn't have the audience.
Right.
So don't be afraid to partner. Make sure you pick a good partner, someone you trust, but don't be afraid to partner.
Yeah, I mean, I think I must have buried the lead, but Hani and I, our partners, has been great working with him. So then how did you go from, say, the WordPress implementation to what Repurpose is now?
Yeah.
Like, what does that journey look like?
Yeah, so it started with YouTube to your WordPress site. 6 months later, podcasting was starting to pick up. This is about, I guess, 9 years ago now. And then someone came to me and said, hey, you built this tool for YouTube. Can you build the same tool for podcasting?
Interesting.
Okay, so I basically repurpose, and don't mind the pun there, that software into another software, and then it would automatically just make blog posts every time you publish a new. People love that. And then live streaming a year later was picking up. Facebook Live was becoming really popular. So I did the same thing. I repurposed that plugin. So I kind of build a reputation of being the automation guy, building automation tools for WordPress. So we got, not a huge following of customers, but a good number of customers. But then the feedback came, I love what you're doing with the automation to WordPress, but can you automate from one platform to another? And my first answer was no, you can't do that. We can't do that. But enough people asked me that I almost felt like I had to take the challenge. I had to figure out how to do it. Because building WordPress tools is one thing. Building a SaaS with its own infrastructure is a whole different beast. Never done it before. But I just felt like it was my calling. Enough people ask you, hey, can you do this? Can you take my podcast and put them on YouTube? Can you take my Facebook Lives and put them on YouTube? This is like back in the 7 years ago.
Wow.
I said no. And then I said, you know what? And then I'm gonna try. And that's how Repurpose was born. It's just enough people asking me.
You know what? I love that, because it's a lesson that's probably not very popular or heard, right? A lot of us entrepreneurs, you have this idea, and I've made this mistake, everyone has, where you have an idea and you're like, I'm just going to go build it. Yeah. But a lot of the time, there's most of that idea is off. Yeah. And so how many times have you built something and no one wants it, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. And what I love about your story here is that it's very market driven. It's very user driven. So your initial idea was driven by you needed it. Yeah. So it's a reasonable assumption that someone else could. And then following that, all of your iterations came from people really telling you, this would make my life easier. The technical term is called validation, right? You want to validate your ideas in the market. And I think that's a great story for doing that. Yeah, and I went this traditional route, which I don't know if you hear about it nowadays, but when Repurpose was launched, I emailed my existing customers. Before I finished building it, I built 1 or 2 features, and I said, hey, I'm going to show you something I'm working on. If you're willing to put down a few $100 and believe in my product, you'll get lifetime access to my product, which will be ready in 6 months. So I use that, not only validate the idea, I also validate that someone's willing to pay for it. Because people might say, hey, I love your idea. Yeah. But if they're putting money down, I offer the refund. But if they trust you enough to put money down and say, hey, yeah, I want to be a founding member, I'll pay you the $100 to whatever. I can't remember exact amount. They're putting money down. That was my real validation to continue building is now Repurpose, which is which has evolved, which we'll get into a little bit later. It's evolved all by listening to customers. That's the biggest tip I recommend. I know it's hard. Even for Repurpose, I had a vision. They start off doing one thing. Now it's doing all these other things, which I never even dreamed of. I love that. And I see it in like your change logs whenever a new feature comes out. And I know you guys always make a point to highlight like, hey, this was a highly requested feature, and you're really customer centric, because at the end of the day, it's not about your ego, it's about who are you serving, right? It's like at the end of the day, you might have ideas you love, and sometimes it's sad when you're like, I thought everyone would love this idea, but it doesn't get upvoted.
No, 100%. Like your ego gets in the way sometimes. Like I had this vision of Repurpose that would just be a podcast. It honestly started as a podcasting tool. And then people are like, oh, I want to do video. I want to do video. I'm like, okay, let's figure out the video thing. Now it's primarily video centric. Don't have a vision and stick to it. Like have a vision. Okay, keep it loose, because your customers will kind of steer you a little bit. Don't go beyond limits to build something that's not part of your vision. But don't be afraid to steer a little bit to support. It's a tricky balance.
We talked about really briefly before this bootstrapping, right? Because something a lot of entrepreneurs say is, or sometimes new entrepreneurs, they're like, hey, I don't have the money to get started. And you even talked about, I had built WordPress apps, but here we are talking about an actual SaaS, software as a service type application, which is much more complex. So talk about that journey. I know you have a technical background, but like talk about that whole bootstrapping, funding it yourself, and what that journey's been like, and anything you want to share about that.
Yeah, I mean, I always wanted to do bootstrap. I've always wanted to kind of fund and just have full control over the product, like where it goes, what direction it goes to. But the way it started with when I built the first tool, the WordPress plugins, it was just like, let me put it out there, partnered up with somebody. We got the right audience, and then we started making money. Not a lot. We started making sales, and the sales came in. We used that to hire a support person. And then we started building more products. So we're getting an income stream. When the customers reached out to me and they said, I want you to figure out how to automate across different social media platforms, I'm like, well, I built something small here. I'm going to just take a percentage of this money and reinvest it into building what now is Repurpose. So I guess the short answer to it is, if you're getting started, don't try to build something massive. Like, don't go in, I'm going to build the next, I don't know, like
Facebook
or something. No, don't go like that. Just if you have an audience, if you don't have an audience, build something small. I mean, it could be as small as an ebook or a course, coaching program, or if you're more technical and you're interested in software, build a small software like a Chrome extension or a WordPress plugin. Build something small, because you'll learn a lot about the process, the building process, and you got to support it and maintain it. Like you learn a lot by building something small. If you try to build the next Facebook, you're gonna drown. Like you might get lucky, or you might crash and burn. Most likely you'll crash and burn because you don't have experience.
Yeah, I could talk about some of the money I've burned on some of the apps I've built. And I think what you're talking about too, sometimes, or a similar concept, is like minimum viable product.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. So if you're not familiar with the term, look it up. There's a great book by Eric Ries about it too, right? The Lean Startup.
Build something small. Like Repurpose now it does a gazillion different things, million different not million, but all these different platforms.
Yeah,
but when it started, it did one thing. It was designed to take audio content onto YouTube. That was the first feature we built. But then you evolve after that. So yeah, build small, get it out there, get people to pay you money. That's another form of validation. And then build upon it, pivot a little bit, do what you got to do, but don't wait. Like, don't wait until you have your dream product and then put it out to the market, because that's a dangerous thing. It can go well, or it can
and I imagine, because you do have so many customers now, that you are, and that's, as that grew, you continue to take those profits or those revenues and invest it into the application.
Absolutely. We're growing as a team, so we can build features faster, so we can expand the product. And
amazing.
If we're using the money we come in, we reinvest it back in, because I love what I'm doing. I built this thing a long time ago, been passionate about it, lots of ups and downs. Like when you start something, there's always ups and downs. Like you'll probably listen to this story like, oh, it's all like, all nice things, but you go through like an emotional journey. Like I remember when we first started, it was all good, and then all of a sudden, oh, how come the signups have slowed down, or now we have all these bugs, and then you get like, oh, the database crashed, stuff that happens. But to me, the only way you get through that is if you're building something that you love, like you're passionate about, you're willing to go through the ups and downs, like you believe in it so much. So that's really important. If you're not excited about it, don't do it. If you love it, 100% go all in. You got to go for a roller coaster ride, but
Right.
it'll pay off at the end.
I couldn't agree more, man. That's such valuable information. And I mean, that's just been my experience as well with anything you do. In fact, that segues really well into something I wanted to ask you about. And it is around the idea of, do you think it's easier now to start a business and successfully operate it? Or do you think it's harder than ever? Because we come from a world where, you know, of the GeoCities days, if you know about any of that, and where you're coding websites and, you know, by hand, and there weren't automated tools like Repurpose IO that, you know, can help people even replace social media assistant, you know, many tools like yours and others, right? So just curious though, what do you think about that idea? You know, because some entrepreneurs, they don't want to get started because they feel like, oh, everything's already been done. It's too hard to get started. There's too much competition. Or do you think it's easier than ever?
I mean, it's a bit of both. I'm not gonna lie. Like, there's so many tools that can help you build stuff. Whether you're building a book, especially now with AI, you can say, "Hey, give me a website that looks like this." Boom, hit one button, website disappear. Like, literally, it's that easy, right? So there's a lot of tools to help build whatever you're trying to build. Whether it's a coaching program, whether it's a software, whatever. There's a lot of tools out there. Even software development, it's getting a lot easier. Like, everything is getting easier to build. The disadvantages, everything is getting easier to build. So more people are entering the market,
100%.
especially now with AI becoming, like, there's so many AI tools out there that anybody can build in a day, that it becomes very saturated. So my advice is, whatever you're building, A, be passionate about it, like I said earlier, but B, like, make sure you're solving a problem that's really a real pain point to your audience or to a group that you are familiar with and you have access to. Me, let's say I'm going to go into this personal training business. I don't have any connections there. I don't know anybody there. I'm sure I can build a software for them, but I don't know that industry.
And how well can you talk to that audience?
How well can I talk to the audience? I can't resonate with them.
Yeah.
The fact that I was making videos like 15 years ago and blogging and video blogging, I lived in that space. I knew the pains. And I loved it. Like, I love being in that space. And I love watching that space evolve. So make sure you're in a space that people love. Make sure you're in a space that you love and that you have access to people, or at least, like, you're in that space. Like, if you're, personal trainer, then maybe you can build some tools around there. So back to your question, it is easier with the tools, but it's also a lot more competitive. I'm not discouraging anybody from trying stuff, because no matter how many tools are out there, everybody does. Whether it's a software or a course or a coaching program, everybody has an audience that will be attracted to them. Like, let's say you and I are teaching the same exact thing. Some people might resonate with the way I'm teaching, and then they might resonate with the way you're teaching, and then you're going to have a bunch of customers. I'm going to have a bunch of customers. So don't worry about feeling that it's oversaturated. If you love something, I say now is just as good a time as ever to go and put it out there. But don't go nuts spending a year building something and then put it out there. Put it there as early as you can, because you may get negative feedback, you might get no feedback, you might get crickets, or you might get a little bit of feedback and you're going to adjust and steer. So it's like, the short summary is, put stuff out.
Fail fast.
Fail fast. Yeah, get it out and see what happens. Don't feel like, I'm not ready. Just put it out there.
I love that. And then, like you're saying, the tools, yes, the tools are greater than ever. I built a calculator. Literally, I had ChatGPT build me 2 calculators in an afternoon, right? Because now I would have had to hire a programmer in the past. But I think you touched on something really good. It's like that X factor, right? Even though everyone has access to the same tools, what are you bringing to the table that's unique to you? And your passion cannot be automated or replicated, right? I know you can make AI avatars, but they'll never match your passion.
No way.
Right?
I actually tried that today, by the way. We'll get into that if you want. But anyway, you're 100% right. It's you. You have a you factor, like your own magic in a way, your own personal touch on whatever.
Your own spice, right?
Yeah, whatever you're building, whether it's a course, ebook, online course, coaching program, software, you have your own touch. So.
And another thing that really resonated with me, I heard a talk the other day, is about second mover advantage, right? The other small advantage, or not small, but actually significant advantage someone has is that, yes, there's more competition than ever, but a lot of things, like you talked about early in the YouTube days, people have already figured out. So you don't need to figure out, let's say you're starting a YouTube channel, what's the optimal way to do titles or thumbnails? There's a lot of stuff written about this. So you have the second mover advantage of you're starting with the best.
Yeah.
If you can figure out how to get the information, you have tools like Perplexity that'll do research for you.
Absolutely.
And, that would have took half a day before, but now it's doing this for you so quickly. So yeah, I really do love that.
Yeah, you take advantage. You have a lot of information at your fingertips, especially now, like you said, with all kinds of AI tools. It's just how you piece those pieces together and you build what you want. Like, yeah, it's definitely an advantage. An advantage.
And the one other thing I'll say is, there's more, with the internet now, there's more people than ever starting a business part-time online. And I will say the one thing is this was a lot harder before all of these automation tools and AI help and just everything that's out there. So it's probably now easier than ever to get started. Yes, there's way more competition, but as Hani said here, you shouldn't really worry about that if you're doing something that people want and that you're doing it with passion in a way that adds value to what people have.
100%. And like you said, not only AI tools, but even just in the past, how do you collect money? Like now, you just throw a Stripe form out and someone can just put a credit card. Like it's just so easy. So if you have an idea, like you said, run with it. Run with your idea. Build an MVP, a minimum viable product. Put it out to your audience, even if your audience is 100 people. If you have an email list or even just a following on social, put it out there and get feedback. And even if you charge $1 for the first one, and then you charge $10 for the second one, then $100 for the third one. Put it out there and ask for money, because if everyone can tell you whatever they want, but if they're not willing to put down that $1 or the $10, then they're lying to you.
And you don't have a business.
Or you don't have a business, exactly. So put it out there and ask for money. I think that's really important. A lot of people, especially me, I was like, oh, we didn't have this product built. How can I ask people for money? I tried it and I was shocked. We had 25 people give me, I forget, $100, $200. But they knew me. It was already my audience. They already were a previous customer from the previous product.
You had built some credibility.
Relationship and credibility. So build audience on social or on email lists, and build trust with that audience. Just keep giving value. And then when you have that trust, then you're ready to ask for money. So give before you get,
right? There you go. I mean, some of you were probably just going to turn this video off because you might just want to spam things with ads. I know not you guys, but there are people who just want to do that kind of stuff. And it's like, let me just sell as much as I can, as quickly as I can. You don't want to have a hustle, right? You want to have a sustainable business. And like Hani's talking about, you build a reputation by helping people and genuinely providing value. And that's when you're going to reap the rewards. It might not be immediately, but people do recognize. So shifting gears a bit, obviously your tool has to do with social media. Right. So I want to ask you some questions about social media. And probably the one question I get the most about repurposing content. So as I mentioned, I've been working with Hani for a while, and I do recommend his tool to a lot of the people I work with. But the question I always get, and I wanted to hear directly from you, is what are your thoughts on repurposing content versus creating dedicated clips? So to give you an example, if you're not familiar, so there's a lot of platforms now, basically all of them do vertical content. So Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and so many more. But should you repurpose that same content the same way on each of them? Or do you want to create dedicated versions for each of them because maybe the algorithms are different, maybe the feature set is different? These are all the things people say. So a lot of experts have talked about this, but what are your thoughts on this? And I'd love to hear what you recommend here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say this is like the rule across the board, but I'm all about what's the most bang for my buck. Like, I'm going to create a piece of content on a platform. Nowadays, all the platforms, once TikTok kind of said short form video is where it's at, they've kind of set that mark a couple of years ago, say short form vertical video. People's attention spans are short, so they've kind of almost like created a new type of video. And now all the other platforms, hey, TikTok's had success, I want to be successful like them. So the YouTube Shorts came, and Instagram Reels came, and Facebook Reels. They all kind of came from this idea that short form video is actually great, and everybody wants it. So the short answer is you create content once. There is no reason why you should not post that on every single platform. Even if you think the audience is, it may not get the same response. It will not actually get the same response. If you post a video from TikTok, same way on the LinkedIn, you might get a 10,000 views on TikTok, you might get 500 views, you might get 20 views on Twitter, you might get 50 views on Pinterest. It might vary, but there is no reason not to do it because people are everywhere and people are not on one platform. And the type of content, yes, it may not resonate as well, but it's going to resonate better than not posting it on that platform. That's number one. If you have time to create the same video in 5 different ways for different audiences,
you have a huge
go
team.
for it. Go for it. That's the ideal scenario. Reality is nobody has time. Well, you make a video on the fly, you post it somewhere, you're like, oh, I'm not going to reshoot that video in a more professional tone so I can be on LinkedIn. That's not going to happen. So you're going to have 0 views on LinkedIn and 10,000 views on TikTok. So there's the short answer. I know I rambled a lot. I don't agree that you should make custom content. I say you're making the content. If it's good content, it's going to perform well, great, or even okay on all the platforms.
It's not good advice if you're Mr. Beast.
Yeah.
But for 95% of other creators who do have a time dependency, you can hit the 80 or 90% with almost 0 extra effort.
0 extra effort. You made the content. That's where your heart and soul went into making that video. There's it's a shame not to put it on Pinterest, on Snapchat, on all the platforms, X, on everywhere. It's a waste of energy not to put it on because if you don't put it on, guess what? You're gonna get 0 views.
Right.
If you put it on, you might get 20, you might get 50, you might get 1,000. That's still better than 0. Right. So it's definitely worth it. I don't believe in this let's make dedicated content unless you're Gary Vee or Mr. Beast and you have resources and time and team. Yeah, okay, but everybody else, including us, we make 1 video and we put it everywhere.
So I'm going to ask you 2 quick follow-ups.
Yeah.
I get these all the time. Which should be my lead vertical platform?
I would narrow it down to 2, either TikTok or Instagram. I don't want the whole idea is just go where your biggest audience is and post natively to that platform. Of
course.
So go there first. So if you already been doing TikToks and you've got an audience there, post to TikTok first. And then Instagram, if you already have a following on Instagram, post to Instagram first, and then just use that same video to go everywhere else. I picked those 2 because the tools, TikTok has a great tool for editing, adding stickers, music, all that stuff, and Instagram has a good tool as well. So if you're just starting, you don't know where to go, either pick TikTok or Instagram because it makes the creation process fun, and you can do it right on the Instagram app or the TikTok app. You don't need a third-party tool. If you want to get fancy, you could get third-party tools, but you don't need to. My way is, what's the simplest way with a minimal number of tools and editing I can go from shooting the video to putting it on my primary platform?
And one myth I've been hoping to bust with you or ask you about for a while now, obviously you work with all these platforms.
Yeah.
You have some data on your end too.
Yeah.
Can you put to bed the idea around if the algorithms know that your content is repurposed and serve you less? So now I know that your tool removes the TikTok watermark. So that's awesome, right? So I know that maybe it can detect the watermark, but even if you remove the watermark, do these platforms know that it came from somewhere else?
There's no way they know. There was some theories about metadata buried into the file.
Yes.
We went in and we actually added some stuff to wipe the metadata just in case, just to please the people, because that's what people wanted.
Yeah.
Did it make a difference? I have no idea. Some content gets hundreds of thousands of views when they're repurposed from TikTok to YouTube Shorts, for example. Some content, but you cannot compare to the original platform. That's one thing I want to make sure you're clear on. Just because you got 10,000 views on TikTok doesn't mean that YouTube's going to give you 10,000. They might give you 1 million. They might give you 100. We have no control. We, as creators, have no control of how the algorithm is going to take that content. But there was rumors about metadata, rumors about, you're posting through an API instead of using native.
Exactly.
We've spoken because we're a partner with with Meta, with YouTube. We're developers, so we have access to API. Then they all tell us, why would we create a way for third-party tools to post content if we're going to punish the content that goes on there?
They want as much content as they can get.
That's why they built that. They built this way for softwares like Repurpose and other scheduling softwares to be able to say, they want more content. Why would they punish the people who use a tool versus native? So that's a big myth. And we have data. Like I don't have any data on me in a second. We have data that shows both ways. Like people who go from TikTok, I'm picking TikTok, but from anywhere to say YouTube, sometimes the YouTube does better than the original TikTok, and sometimes it does worse. You can't control that.
And I think just the thing you said genuinely earlier, right?
Yeah.
Maybe where this comes from is, like we said, yes, if you have the resources to make a dedicated version for each and you're spending hyper optimizing each piece, maybe it'll perform 10, 15%, 20% better than the version you repurposed. Maybe. Right?
Yeah.
But there you have it. There is no algorithmic component that just automatically says this came from TikTok, I don't want it, or this came from Instagram.
It doesn't know. It doesn't. There's no way it's going to know.
One quick follow-up. What about music? Because you probably get this question a lot, right? What if it had embedded music and this and that? And you know the question here.
Yeah. So, I mean, every platform is a bit different, but let's just take a TikTok to YouTube. So actually, we got this question a lot on YouTube Shorts because everyone's worried about YouTube. And so they have a trending sound or some like copyrighted music on TikTok. Totally. They repost it to Shorts.
100%.
Let's take that example. So we spoke with YouTube directly, the YouTube team directly, and we actually have an FAQ on our site specifically for that because we get asked that question a lot. The short answer is it doesn't affect monetization. It does not affect reach. It does not affect anything. It has no effect. All YouTube now, I think it's a new thing, will just, if it detects the song, let's Taylor Swift or whatever, they will just attribute, like you'll see that the music, they'll attribute to Taylor Swift, and you'll see, like, okay, this music's by Taylor Swift. So it automatically detects the music and says, okay, this is a song. You're gonna get a notice in your account, say, hey, we've attributed Taylor Swift to your song, but there's no penalty, there's no marks on your account, there's no there's no negative. That's for Shorts. They say, as per the YouTube Shorts policy, there's no But I'm not sure how that. If you have a long form video, I don't know about that, but I know for Shorts. No issues. The monetization is not touched. Reach is not affected, and it's just attribution is automatic. It's automatic. You just don't worry about it.
So there you have it, right? Whether you're using Repurpose to automatically repurpose your content to every platform, or you're just doing it manually, there's literally no reason not to take that that piece of content you work so hard on and put it on all the other platforms. So you definitely should be doing that. So we're just talking about how in a perfect world, you would obviously make a dedicated video for each and every platform. But of course, very, very, very few people have time for that. But are there any other challenges when you're going from just one platform to multiple? Because, you'll hear some creators say, no, listen, just focus on one platform and get really good, right? So what do you have to say about that? And if you've observed any challenges with going multi-platform now, and maybe even some tips to overcome any of those challenges you've seen.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's a real challenge. The challenge is not putting the content out there. The whole point of social media is being authentic. You're using a tool to automate distribution. That's totally fine. I don't have anything wrong with it. The platforms love it. They get more content. The one challenge, or I don't say challenge, the one tip I want to give you is make sure you engage with those audiences on those platforms. Like, don't forget about them. Just because you have a tool that posts it to Instagram, if someone's leaving a comment there, don't ignore it. So some people have asked, hey, how do I manage all these comments? Now I'm everywhere. How do I stay on top of all my comments?
It's a good problem to have, but it's a problem.
It's a problem. If you ignore them, it's not good. You might give a wrong impression. So, we don't solve that problem, but there are tools out there, like Agora Pulse and a few others that will listen. I
use social media.
Yeah, you can listen for comments and manage all your comments and reply to all your comments from one dashboard. So I highly recommend using some kind of tool to stay on top, or have someone on your team or yourself check in every couple of days on your videos. So don't ignore your audience. It's really important. Just because you're everywhere doesn't mean, I don't have time to respond to comments. You should make an effort to respond or use a tool to help you maintain that.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, maybe you can reply to comments on all of them. So maybe you try and prioritize your best channels, and even those other ones, if you're still 50% as effective, but for zero extra effort, it's not perfect. But as entrepreneurs, often it's not about being perfect, right? It's about how do I get every little incremental advantage. Yeah. But as Hani's saying, if you use some tools that kind of consolidate this for you, it can be helpful. Yeah. Or, you could look into even hiring like a virtual assistant to help you with comments if you want. But again, I think that goes against the authenticity, right? You want to reply to as many comments as you can.
That's
So
a lot, yeah.
no, that's a really great point you bring up, and it's an
Yeah.
interesting challenge for people to be aware of.
Yeah, it's good to be aware. I mean, you can't do everything, but automate as much as you can, but don't forget to be real. That's my advice.
Love it. No interview or conversation can be complete without talking about AI.
Absolutely. Let's do it. Let's do it.
But I want to take it in a way where, I want to talk about AI, but also what else is out there. So basically, social media, we talked about how we started. When you started, there was only YouTube. That was the big video king.
Yeah.
Now there's a million apps coming out every single month, every year, basically.
Yeah.
And we've seen ones come and go, like Periscope and Vine and all kinds of,
And Blab and all these ones. Yeah.
all these ones, right? So, like, talk to me about what you see as the future of social media, or what are some things that entrepreneurs, maybe some trends or things that entrepreneurs maybe are not as hip to and they might be missing out. So just kind of, it's a broad question, but
Yeah.
like, where do you see social media going? Maybe some of the gotchas, maybe some of the exciting things, the pitfalls. This kind of, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you, CEO of a social media
of
company,
course.
about, your thoughts on the industry.
Yeah, actually, I mean, social media is not going anywhere. It's been around for years. Platforms come and go. There's going to be, you never know, like, we don't know what's going to come and go later, but just social media is about just putting yourself out there, your brand out there, whether it's you, whether it's a company, and just being real. Like at least in the past 5 years, maybe, just the more real and raw it is, it's like people can connect with that, right?
Right.
If it's too scripted and too professionally done, it's like you lose that authenticity. So people feel like they know you when they watch you on social media, and they follow you for a while. So keep it real. That's not going to change. Don't think of these channels as a TV studio. This is like you're connecting, almost like you're having a one-on-one conversation with your follower. So talk to them that way. I think that's going to continue. That's not going to change. Platform might come and go, but just the more real you are, that's not going to change. But also AI is adding an interesting twist. Now you don't know what's real anymore and what's not real. So my take on this is, I don't believe in I feel you're losing the authenticity, which is the main advantage of our social media.
Right.
You just see hey, I'm following Kevin, he's doing this and that, and I'm learning. I just see him. I don't care if his camera's flopping like this. But if I'm watching, for example, AI, there's ways you can just make a digital clone of yourself that can make videos for you. Basically, I've tried it today, actually. It's funny. Literally,
It's insane.
It kind of walks you through the process, and then I can type in a script, or even just say, write me a script.
Write me a script.
And it does it. It just was fake. You can tell it's fake.
It's got the uncanny valley
There's
thing,
no
right?
emotion. There's no.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to get better and better. But I feel like a lot of people are going to do that to be able to shoot out content so much faster. I warn against that, because you're going to lose authenticity. You're going to lose the main reason why people follow you is because it's you. You got to say something. They want to see your face. They don't want to see an AI version of you. So AI has a lot of great benefits. This cloning of yourself, I feel, is a dangerous one. Me personally would say, stay away from it. I mean, some people do it. They build a lot of content really quick, but it's not a good long-term strategy. It might get you a lot of views in the beginning. You might publish a video every day because it's all AI generated. But yeah, so some things are great. Like AI is going to be not only on the creator, it's going to help them create stuff, help you come up with your social media posts, help you script from the whole process of content creation. There's always an AI tool that can help you along the way. From editing, AI can edit stuff for you. AI can help you write your script. AI can help you, if you're not looking at the camera, it can modify the video so your eyes can look at the camera. So many AI tools out there. I think those are great. They add value to the content you're producing. I would stay away from tools that create entirely a fake version of content, a fake version of you. Again, my personal opinion, it's just not real, not authentic.
So there you heard it. Hani does not want you using your AI avatar and then using his tool to send out your shorts.
You could if you want to. I just don't recommend it. I recommend being real, being yourself, because that's what it's all about. That's what
100% agree.
But AI is amazing. We're adding a lot of AI, little features to help you just do things faster. Take a caption, hit a button, and just respin that caption to a different caption. So you're not posting the same caption on TikTok and on YouTube and on the
And you know,
small things like that.
and I think, one thing I want to ask you about too is like ownership, right? Because right now, you're hearing like Adobe just had a huge scandal where they had like in their terms of use, they were like, hey, listen, anything you create, and
really?
allegedly, I don't want to get sued here. Allegedly, they fixed it, right? But in their terms of use, they just updated it where they have a perpetual license to anything you create.
I know that.
In
oh my
any
God, that's
Adobe
scary.
tool.
That is so scary.
And you imagine they're training their AIs on some of the best artists in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
So ownership is another thing. Like when an avatar comes out, who owns that? Who owns that? And this and that. And even in general with social media, right? I think ownership is, something that it's not the sexiest topic. People don't like to talk about it, but what do you think about that, right? As the algorithms change, as people get shadow banned, all sorts of things happen. What do you think about, ownership as a social media creator? Because one of the things I always say is like you're renting your audience on social media. You don't own that audience, right? So if you don't have a way to take your content or your audience with you, that's not great.
Two good points you made. One is your audience. You don't own the audience. I mean, you own them, they're on your channel, and then until TikTok says, okay, I don't like you, your account is banned, you go from 1 million to 0 overnight. So always good to kind of get people away from, not away, encourage a subset of your followers to join you elsewhere. Typically an email list is always the most secure way.
Yes.
And there's many ways to do that.
Web 3.0 apps like this, like some of these like chat,
Yeah, there's many ways to bring them in.
Discord,
You got to build like big followings on social, and then you want to bring the really engaged 100%. Ones onto something you control more. That's one thing, but also your content. Not only your audience, your content. Same thing. If you have 1,000 videos on TikTok, you post one that TikTok doesn't like, or algorithm kill your account, they shut you down, you've lost your 1,000 videos. So you need to have a way to get your content backed up. So if you have phones, make sure you're like backing up your phones. If your video's on your phone,
right.
Just find a way to back it up. And also diversifying, of course, helps too. So if you do get shut down on one platform, if you don't want to start over and building a new audience, you want to kind of have audiences growing at the same time. That's why kind of one of the advantages of Repurpose is you can be everywhere with the same content, so that in case you get shut down or blocked or shadow banned here, you still have an audience on Shorts, and you have an audience on Reels, and so you still have the audience.
And 100%, I love the point you made about these are the unsexy topics about saving your content. Like, look, at this stage, I edit some of my stuff. I have an editor edit some of my stuff. And over a few years, like, I don't have all the working files for all my stuff. And so, if you're really disciplined and diligent, then you can obviously save everything. You have it on a separate drive and everything. But actually, one of the features I really do love about Repurpose is there is an option where as soon as you publish it, it just goes to Google Drive or Dropbox, and you don't have to worry about it. It's just saved for you. So that's something I've been using personally. And it's also like first mover advantage. Like, let's say a new vertical app comes out tomorrow. You want to be able to be like, oh, I already got 100 pieces of content ready to go, instead of scrambling to try and use some horrible downloader that you scrape off the web or something.
Absolutely.
Right. So so that's another really great point.
Yeah, no, it's really good. Also, you can also back up your existing library.
Yeah.
That's not only new content. So you can take out your existing TikToks and back them up. And then anything you post going forward, will automatically get backed up. It's a very powerful feature that not many people use because they don't think, it's not sexy. Like you said, no one thinks about backing up my video until you get shut down. You're like, oh crap, I should have backed up my video. It's too late, right? So yeah, not sexy, but critical.
Yeah, I actually had a friend of mine, his, I won't say names and things, his channel got shut down. He actually, a YouTube channel, he had 500,000 subs. It took him 2 years and hiring a lawyer to get his channel back.
No way.
Yeah, wow. So it's real. I actually had a Reddit with 100,000. I tell the story on my channel. I had a subreddit with 100,000 people, and one day they changed the rules, and my account got shadow banned. So the video's on the channel if you want to look that up and laugh at my pain, but but don't make that mistake. So I've mentioned Repurpose a few times, and Hani's actually hooking you up with an extended 30-day trial. Normally it's a 14-day trial, and you can just check it out. It's in the description. I'll link it down below. You don't need a credit card or anything. So you can just sign up and connect all your accounts in like 20 seconds and just start playing around with it and seeing how your content gets repurposed. So again, link it down below. But I wanted to ask you about the upcoming Repurpose 3. Yeah, I've seen some of the materials, I've seen some of the sneak peeks, but what can you tell us about it and what features you're excited about? And I'm also going to ask when we can expect it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk about the features. Like it's been redesigned from the inside out. So just as the software's grown and the user base has grown significantly, you gotta when you build in a house, you gotta build a bigger house and you gotta build a bigger foundation. So that's the inner guts. The outer guts, it's also gonna look completely different. We're really trying to simplify everything, kind of with the user's focus in mind. Like I'm trying to repurpose short form content, I'm gonna make that flow easy. If I'm trying to make long content to clips, there's many things you can do in repurpose. We're trying to make the flow, the setup easier. But going beyond that, like we're looking at, we want Repurpose to be your hub. Like our big vision is, first it was Repurpose. 7 years ago, the vision was to distribute content everywhere. That's the name, Repurpose. We started with audio content. The focus is a lot now in the past 5 years or so has been heavy on video, especially short form video. We're gonna expand that into like images and then text posts. So ways to repurpose a video into text posts or a video into images, into carousels. Just kind of like going beyond just taking a video and repurposing it to different platforms or taking a long video and making it shorter. We're going to go beyond that. So we're going to support audio and video like we do now, but we're also going to support text, graphics. So we got some creative ways to do that. Then we're also going to think about like the whole entire process, the whole journey of a creator. When you shoot your video, you need a script. Okay, maybe we're going to add some scripting capability
100%.
to help you come up with scripts. All the way to editing tools, some editing tools on the platform if you want. Everything will be optional. The basic platform will do what it does now. There's going to be a lot of options to add extra functionality to help you through your entire journey. But the things that I'm really excited about is almost like, I don't say the holy grail, but like what we want to get to at the end is a way where I can take a single TikTok and just say, hey, post this to all my channels, but post it in 5 different languages.
Wow.
So you can just say, okay, here's my TikTok, convert it to Spanish, to Italian, to Portuguese, to this, that, whatever languages you want. You'll dub it in your own voice.
Amazing.
And then post it on your TikTok channels. You can have multiple channels. Maybe you have a version in Spanish and you have a version in different languages.
And your captioning will be...
And captioning and the dubbing will be all in that language. That's kind of like literally without you clicking a single button. That's kind of like the goal we want to get to. So a lot of exciting features and a lot of exciting.
Yeah, I know YouTube's actually releasing, and it's in beta right now. It's like invite only. Only a few creators have access to it. But yeah, there's a few creators now who are getting access to the whole auto captioning, and it's not even dubbing yet. And
so it's dubbing, captioning, and all the platforms. So like YouTube, TikTok, you can have that if you wanted to pick the languages and pick where you want to go. So
amazing.
And then a lot of AI in between to help you to do everything you need to do, like scripting to editing. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be then adding an analytics dashboard as well, so you can see how your content's performing. So we're not focused on the repurposing only, which is still the heart of it. We're adding like creation tools, and then post like distribution, and then golden path distribution. Like how my content performing? You can get analytics. Then they might recommend to you, hey, this video did really well on TikTok. Why don't you try repurposing this one? So it's just going to be your hub for all your social media and repurposing needs from creation all the way to distribution and beyond, like analytics.
And are you going to add any intelligence features? I'm sure you know the names. There's apps out there like Opus Clip and whatnot that's adding like in curation, right? Like, hey, you're going to help you curate which clips, because I know you have a tool that helps do that as well. Yeah,
so we're working on that as well, where you can take a long, a lot of the conversation we had today was about short form content, but sometimes you have long form content, like an interview we're doing now. You want to take a bunch of clips from there and repost them as shorts or
100%. It was a feature I love, by the way.
So we're going to automate that as well with AI. So you can say, here's my video. It'll give you 5, 6, 7, 10 recommendations of 1-minute clips, and then we'll just burn the captions and style them for you. So we're adding that as well.
And I've seen, even though we're talking about version 3, I've seen a lot of improvements to the existing version. I've seen you incorporate AI with helping to customize for each of those platforms that they are treated differently. So it's not the exact same things going out on every single thing. There's some automations there in place to help them get some of that extra from the platform specific features. I think you've always done a good job
Yeah,
of
we
that.
have like hashtags. We have like, we can recommend certain hashtags for our different platforms. So we have automation. So I feel like, AI is going to be a big part of our version 3. It's going to,
Of course.
and not in a, like I said, not in the ways that I personally don't believe in a sense like, avatars or virtual creations of yourself. It's more about how can AI, we're to automation, like our main focus is automation. Now, how can we use AI and automation together to speed up the entire process? So that's where our focus is now, is like, how do we use AI to assist the creator so they can do things faster? If they want to do things manually, do it faster.
Right.
Or as part of our automation, we're going to incorporate AI to help you just fully automate everything. So it's really exciting. I'm honestly like, version 3 is going to be, we call it version 3. It's our third generation of our platform. It's going to be just exciting, like, because the possibilities.
Amazing.
Like we have a lot of good stuff coming. I can't wait.
And like I said, when do you think we can expect it?
Yeah, I'm going to give a date. I'm going to put it out there for end of the year.
End of the year, perfect.
We may not have all the features we want from day one, but we're going to have this idea of like almost like an add-on. We want to keep the software simple. That's what we learned. Some people just want repurposing. Just take my TikToks and put them everywhere else. So if you want that, it's going to be like in 2 clicks, boom, boom, you're set up and good to go. If you want the extra stuff, you can get them. Some of them will be free. Some of them may be subscription based. We don't know yet the details.
Right.
The idea is the app is still going to be simple. So don't if you're an existing user, don't be intimidated. We're not going to make this app bloated with all this stuff. It's going to be, the core app is going to do what it does now in a faster, simpler way. And then if you want extra features, you can add them on so that the UI is still going to stay nice and simple.
And I imagine, people don't need to wait for just version 3. You're always adding features to the existing platform. It's not like, hey, this thing's going to be, wait for version 3. No,
don't,
like
because it's going to be a transition. It's going to look very similar. We have updated version 2 to look, more fresher. We added threads, for example. That's our latest integration.
Snapchat's relatively new.
Snapchat, it's been maybe 6 months or so.
Yeah.
Threads is the latest one. So we're constantly adding to our current platform. It's so powerful now, and it's so simple, and it's honestly
Amazing.
so super inexpensive for the value it delivers.
Wow, this has been great. I think we just about covered everything I wanted to talk about, but I wanted to give you the final word here. Any other closing comments, tidbits, insights, or thoughts that you want to share with the audience?
Yeah, I would say if you have an idea and you're excited about it, best thing to do is take that first step and get started. Put your idea out there and go with it. Don't hold back. Don't wait for the perfect moment.